his actual postulation is, if I do not write any subscript of reversible or irreversible, is the next postulate, which is a corollary to this, is that dq by t over a cycle should be equal to less than 0. That means this inequality has two parts actually, which is not very categorically written in books, but you need to understand that this QT has two parts: the QT reversible part, for which the inequality will become equal to 0, and the other part is the irreversible part. So whenever we are writing dq and not mentioning dq reversible, that means that dq is actually a combination of two components, dq reversible by t plus the dq irreversible by t. dq reversible by t is going to become 0 when it is a reversible process, and if it is a irreversible process, then the value should be equal to less than 0. Okay, this is the postulation of Closures inequality. This is the famous Closures inequality, which is the mathematical formulation of the second law. See, nowhere have we written what entropy or anything. We have just written dq by t. dq by t integrated over a cycle. So this is what we are restricting our discussion to, restrict our discussion to in the last class. We had talked about what is going to be a heat pump and what is going to be a refrigerator, and for them we do not define the efficiency, we call it as coefficient of performance. And I hope you remember what is going to be the output and what is going to be input. Refrigerator and heat pump will always have the input as work, and output is going to depend whether it's a heat pump or a refrigerator. For output, we in a refrigerator we require a cold amount of cold heat to be taken from a low temperature reservoir to a temperature or a higher temperature reservoir. And when we are talking about a heat pump, we are taking up uh, it's equivalent to a heater. The object is to warm the heat sink, and in a refrigerator it is to cool down the heat sink. So this is the difference you have. In here you will have the output as the dq high temperature, the high not high temperature, higher amount of heat at higher temperature being taken up from one source to the other. So this is what we had talked about in the last class, and if you have any doubt here, I would have answered it, but since you did not, I have skipped it. So what we had also come to the discussion was the heat engine is operating over ideal gas through a Carnot cycle, goes through clockwise reversibly and produces work in the surrounding, and Q is always greater than 0. And we have also looked into the fact that according to the Carnot's engine, the efficiency of the Carnot's engine is less than 1. No cycle can have efficiency greater than any engine which is operating other than through Carnot's engine cannot have a efficiency greater than 1, and all reversible engines, whether it's Carnot's or any other OTA or whatever cycle which we can talk about, any other engine which is operating reversibly between the same two temperatures will have the same efficiency. That is what we had talked about in the last class. And uh, what we had again, Carnot's system theorems tells, or Carnot's theory tells us that no real engine can have a efficiency more than the Carnot's engine. That we have also talked about in the last, not really talked about, I just mentioned that I'm not going to discuss that here. So now what we are going to discuss is today is introduce this. I hope you have understood this part, because this is very important, in which in this we have uh, talked about the fact that if I have one step in a cycle which is irreversible, then the entire cycle becomes irreversible. And if I have an engine which is operating irreversibly, that means any of the step in the cycle which is performing is irreversible, then the entire cycle engine is working irreversibly. Then we had talked the efficiency of a reversible engine will be greater than the efficiency of a irreversible engine. This was what we had talked about in the last class. I've still not corrected the uh, plus minus signs here. So, and here again we had talked about another thing, an irreversible isothermal expansion, which we had talked about. That was the step in which the heat was getting having input, and we had taken that step to be irreversible and compared that with a reversible step. An irreversible isothermal expansion requires less heat than the reversible one. This was the basis on which we had found out that the efficiency of a reversible engine will be greater than that of the irreversible engine. And this is what we had talked about in the last class. I have not done the correction in the uh, values and the expression. This should have all been minus. I have not corrected that yet. I will do it before I upload it for sending the notes. So what we had found out that we have two terms. We can call this as dq reversible by T, dq irreversible by T. We had talked that dq reversible by T will be, for a given temperature, will be always greater than the dq irreversible by T, because dq reversible by reversible is greater than this. If the temperature is the same, then this will be greater than this one. This was something which is follow up of again this one, what do you call it, Clausius inequality. This is again Clausius inequality, which is coming in a different form. This is for a Clausius inequality, this will be equal to 0 and this should be less than 0. So we'll show that in a diagram when we are discussing in detail. So let me put in the gist of whatever properties which can be shown by entropy, which we are going to now introduce. What is entropy? Which we had seen in the Carnot engine, that there were two steps in which the heat exchange was taking place. One was the first step and the second was the third step. The isothermal step is the step in which the heat transfer is taking place. Adiabatic step, there is no heat transfer. So when we are talking about the total heat which is generated over the cycle, when we talk about the cycle as a Carnot cycle, then it's a reversible cycle. Then we had said that if Th is the temperature at which the heat is transferred, then dq by H was the isothermal heat absorbed during the expansion process, and if dc and Tc are the two temperatures, this is the quantity of heat and this is the temperature, then the heat released at the isothermal compression was corresponding to dc, and this is corresponding temperature. So if you add the isothermal the heat absorbed in the reversible isothermal expansion at Th plus the heat released in the isothermal compression process at Tc, both add up to become 0. So this is what we can write, and from here we can say that this is something which is 0. That means it is from, if I can look into the, compare that with a path variable and a state variable, it is giving me a term which is similar to a state variable. If I, over a cycle, the value of the thermodynamic parameter which I have generated, Q by T, is equal to 0. So, and that is why we introduce a new term here, which is we now nomenclate as, so far we have not talked about entropy. Now we are nomenclating this as entropy. What is entropy? It is the dq reversible by T. So whatever process we are talking about, when it is operating in a reversible mode, only then we define entropy. If it is irreversible, dq irreversible by T, then we do not call that as entropy. Clear? So what we have to understand, that dq reversible by T is a parameter which is an exact differential. So if and it's a state variable, that means if I integrate between two change of states from A to B, then the difference in entropy should be given by the change in entropy at the final state minus the change minus the entropy at the initial state, and that should be equal to the change from A to B for dq reversible by T quantity. Okay. So this is what we had talked about in the last class, and this is the summation which was we had obtained when we are talking about Carnot's engine working in series. Like this we can show. You can see these are the isotherms and these are the consecutive adiabatics. These are the adiabats and these are the isotherms. You can see a reversible cycle can be approximated to a series of Carnot's like engines operating one after the other. So you have a series of Carnot's engine which can be taken and summed over on the entire path. The dq by t summed over each of the cycles can be summed to be equal to 0. So you can see the reversible cycle can be actually represented by a series of Carnot engines operating. So the series of operating Carnot's engine can be represented by a diagram like this. That means from A to moving from A to B, this is the initial to the final point B. I can say that each of the processes is connected to one another. We have one point in which we have the Carnot cycle operating, and that becomes the input for the other, and that becomes the input. It's like a series of Carnot engine operating one after the other. So that gives you a change from A to B for a complete reversible cycle. I hope you have understood what is said here, because these are there in books and you should be able to understand why so many adiabats and isotherms are drawn from A to B. So for entropy being a state variable, I had just now said for finding out the change in entropy, it should be the entropy at the final minus the initial state, and that will be the integral from changing from A to B of dq reversible by t. And if it is a reversible process, then it's a cyclic process, then its value should be 0. Okay. Now, another thing which is important here is another definition of the second law. For a reversible change, for a reversible process which is taking place, change in entropy of the system, like for a Carnot's engine, is equal and opposite to the change in entropy of the surrounding. Okay. And what is the surrounding? Here one may be the one may consider the sink as the surrounding, the sink in which the heat is getting rejected as the surrounding. So this provides the basis of generating a new equation, which is the net entropy of the system, or the total entropy of the system and the surrounding, being the entropy of the universe. The entropy of the universe is going to be equal to 0 as long as the process is carried out reversibly. Why? Because the entropy of the system, the change in entropy of the system is equal to and opposite to the change in entropy of the surrounding. So the heat required or the heat absorbed, which is given to the sink, is what is corresponding to the heat the delta S surrounding. So what we can write, this is one of the most important equations of the second law. So second law can be written as, for a reversible process, the delta S for the universe, that means since that is the combination of total of system and surrounding taken together, is equal to 0. Okay. And if it's an irreversible process, you will just have a look at what I've written here. For an irreversible process, the total entropy of the universe will be always greater than 0. So if I have to understand a process which is occurring, whether it's occurring reversibly or irreversibly, if I combine these two conditions together, then what can I write? Delta S universe will be greater than equal to 0. When it becomes equal to 0, that means it's a reversible process we are dealing with. If it is greater than 0, then that means we are dealing with a irreversible process. So what this indirectly means? Indirectly means that in the irreversible process, just please note this, for an irreversible process, the delta S system may not be equal to the delta S surrounding. Okay. But whatever it may be, we may have delta S negative at certain point of time, but that must be maybe the system or the surrounding, but that cannot be the entropy of the universe. The total entropy will always have to be equal to 0 or greater than equal to 0. Okay. So this is the another version of second law, that the processes that will occur naturally will always have a delta S universe. That means the total delta S value always positive. So only those processes, despite the fact that they may be following the first law, they will not violate the first law, but the processes which will have the delta S universe as positive will only occur. So this has already given me a criteria of which process is going to occur and which is not going to occur. And if the value is equal to 0, that means the process is occurring, but it is occurring in a reversible manner. Okay. So our target is always to get a value of 0. But if you are having an isolated irreversible system, delta S universe will be always positive value. Okay. What are the things which we have to learn about entropy? We have always talked about entropy being associated with disorderness. But what is this disorderness? What is this disorderness which is coming from the expression? dq reversible by T is defined as entropy. So where is the disorderness associated here? So the disorderness associated comes from the temperature. Whenever you are having a heat transfer, if it is a process which is carried out, say, reversibly, the entropy is actually related to the heat amount of which is transferred. Okay, this is the extent of heat which is dispersed in disorderly manner, and whenever there is dispersion of heat, and the dispersion is of heat is usually in the surrounding, you will have a stimulate a disorganized motion of the molecules or whatever the surrounding is. So in a reversible thermodynamic process, entropy of the system is related to the extent to which the energy is dispersed in a disorderly manner. This is what is the disorderness. It is not just disorganized. It is not just the disorganized part. It has to be understood that it is the extent to which the energy can be dispersed in this disorderly manner.
Ma'am, what exactly do you mean by extent to which the energy is dispersed?
The amount of energy which is not going to be available to do work. So most of the energy is utilized in doing work. Okay. Whenever you are losing the energy and it is not available to do work, is the amount which is going to give rise to the disorderness. Am I clear?
So the amount of energy which is being dispersed, basically.
Yes. It's the amount of energy which is not available to do work is the amount which is actually measures the entropy of the system, because that is gone out to change the say it is whenever you are having an energy transfer, it's in the form of heat, then it is going to always give rise to disordered motion.
So can we say that whenever the extent to which the energy is dispersed from the system is more, then the amount of disorderliness in the surroundings is increased by that much, right?
Yes.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is
Thank you. Yeah.
that is what we have to see. And when we carry, see, and here is the very beautiful thing you have asked. When we are taking out carrying out a reversible process, what are we trying to see? Whatever we take process we are executing in the forward direction is actually should come back to its initial position by we are making the changes so small. So we are actually trying to maintain a virtual equilibrium at each point.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means the whatever disorderness we are generating in the surrounding is actually reversible.
Yes, ma'am. But then entropy cannot be reversed, right?
Entropy, you are not going to see entropy here. You are only looking at W and Q.
Okay.
W and Q, you not even W, you are actually seeing volume.
Okay.
When we talk about work, we have only talked about expansive the expansive type of work, right? Which is always manifested in volume change,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
right? So whenever we are taking out a compression or a expansion in a reversible manner, we have always said that the steps we are taking is so small that whatever forward step is taken, I can revert back and go back to my initial state, right?
Yes.
That means whatever a disturbance I'm creating in the system or the surrounding is reverting back.
Yes, ma'am.
So that means whatever is surrounding, whatever you are talking about, the disorderness created in the surrounding is so small that we ignore it. We say that it's in equilibrium.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is why the entropy change of the system and surrounding becomes equal when it's reversible.
Yes, got it, ma'am.
Got it? And
Yes,
if
ma'am.
I have an irreversible process, suppose I'm doing a work and I'm putting a big bag of sand on the lid, it is going to happen in one step, right? And there must be impacting the surrounding.
Yes, ma'am.
So whenever we have a irreversible step, which is occurring spontaneously, that will always have an impact in the surrounding, right?
Yes.
And you have to always remember this process will occur only when the total entropy of the system and the surrounding taken together is always greater than zero. Only such processes will occur. Okay. So the process which occurs at constant temperatures, say isothermal process, it should be, entropy should be defined as dq reversible by T, where see, which is, what is the T here? T is the temperature at which the heat is transferred. Please remember the T here is the temperature at which the heat is transferred, and Q is the amount of heat which is transferred reversibly. So this we have already talked, it's a state function, it is independent of the path. How to measure the entropy of a reversible and irreversible process? This is going to be taken up today. I hope I can take it up. So entropy is an intensive property. It is depending on the amount of matter which is associated with the system. Whenever we have a heat absorb, whenever there is a heat absorb, the dq reversible of whatever, the system or surrounding, I'm not specifying that, whenever there is a heat absorb in a system or a surrounding, wherever it is, whenever there is a heat absorb, dq reversible, a dq will be always greater than 0. And if it is done reversibly, it is going to be dq reversible greater than 0. Temperature is always positive, so entropy will be always positive. But if I have a process or a system in which instead of heat absorption, we are having a heat rejection, the heat rejection will be whether it is done reversibly or irreversibly. If it is reversibly, then we can call it it's as entropy. And if I have a heat dissipation, then the delta Q reversible will be negative. So here the entropy will decrease, but the entropy of the system may increase or decrease, and corresponding this the inversely should happen in the surrounding. At least the total entropy has to be equal to 0, because if it is done reversibly, if it is done reversibly, that means, it implies that the entropy of the surrounding and the system taken together should be equal to 0. That means that whatever entropy change is occurring for the system, equal and opposite change in entropy should occur in the surrounding. Am I clear? Now, if you have an adiabatic process carried out reversibly, what will happen? There is no heat transfer. So, adiabatic processes are isoenthalpic processes, right? Now, what are the unique variables? Whenever we are talking about entropy, what are the unique variables we talk about? When we talked about internal energy, we said it's volume and temperature. What should be the uh, parameters which should be having a unique value or a variable which is on which the entropy can be calculated? Entropy, you have to understand that whenever we are talking about it is depending on V and T does not mean it is not going to depend on P, because P and V are going to be related, right? But fundamental variable of entropy for unique value is pressure and temperature and the composition. So what are the functions on which it's going to depend? It's going to depend on the temperature, pressure, and a number of moles of the particular system which we are talking about. So since we are not yet talking about open system, so we can ignore the number of moles. When we talk about the number of moles is when we are talking of the system which is being an open system. If there is an exchange of mass between the system and surrounding. Here, since we are only confining our discussion to the closed system, so the question of number of moles doesn't arise as a function of which the entropy of the system will vary. Okay. So what about the value of absolute values of S? Can we calculate? Because it is very difficult to calculate the entropy. You are always calculating the entropy change, like the internal energy. We are always trying to calculate the change in internal energy. Similarly, entropy is a parameter which cannot be measured in absolute. It is to be done in the observed in the change in entropy in the system and the surrounding. But can this be calculated? Can entropy be calculated? Yes, entropy can be calculated, and that will require the understanding of the third law, which I probably will take up in the next class or so. So if I have a process, let us now do this. These are questions which is intuitive questions which are asked, and we'll discuss here. If suppose Q amount of energy or heat is transferred from two bodies, one is the cold body and one is the hot body. Okay, some amount of energy Q is transferred to a system from a hot body and a cold body. The entropy change will be higher for which one? The entropy change, it is, since it is inversely proportional to the transfer temperature, at the temperature at which the transfer of heat is taking place. So the temperature at the body which is at the transfer to a colder body will always have a greater entropy. Am I clear? Let us take this example, which will be the spontaneous direction of flow of energy. Is this clear? This is the temperature at which the heat is supplied. Transfer is taking place. So if the transfer is taking place at to a colder body, it will be always higher than that of the temperature at higher body. So entropy for a system can be calculated or can be intuitively thought or understood, which will be higher, until you are given a numerical and you can solve and find out. Now if I say I have dq amount of heat leaving, I have two blocks A and B. I say the dq amount of heat is leaving the block A, and the entropy change associated with B, the heat is getting dissipated. So if dq is the amount which is dissipated, so minus dq, and at what temperature it's getting transferred, let us the temperature being transferred, let that be that there's a temperature of this being Th, so let that be the temperature at which it's getting transferred. So it's getting transferred from a body which is maintained at Th. So the transfer of the temperature at which it is transferred will correspond to Th. So what will be the entropy change? We can write down the we can first write down the dq reversible. What is the dq reversible? Minus dq reversible by Th. This is the temperature of this A. So that will be the temperature at which the transfer will take place. Okay. Now this dq amount of energy, which is in the form of heat dissipated from A, is gained by another block which is maintained at the temperature Tc. I don't know what is Th and Tc. It is this particular system, which is nomenclated as B, is taking the amount which is dissipated from the A, which is dq reversible by Tc, the same amount being absorbed by the block B. Now I have to find out which direction will be the spontaneous direction and which will be the direction which can occur. I am saying a heat flow is occurring from A to B. Will the heat flow occur from A to B? And if it occurs, what will be the condition? Intuitively, you know that if the heat flow occurs, it has to be that A is at a higher temperature and B is at a lower temperature, because heat flows from a higher temperature to lower temperature. We cannot have heat flowing from a lower temperature to higher temperature. So we already know that. This is what is guiding it. The guiding principle is the entropy. So how are we seeing and saying that this is the direction of the heat flow? Just have a look at it. I have got the total entropy change in terms of this. I can rewrite this plus this, and the rewritten expression can be the delta S will be dq 1 by Tc minus 1 by Th. Now when Th, so what is this is going to be lower, and this is, suppose if Th is higher than Tc, if this is higher than this Tc, then what happens? If this is higher, this will be smaller. Okay, then you get a positive value of delta S. Suppose this is higher. If this is Tc is higher, then what it becomes? Then this will become a negative term. If the Tc is higher than Th, then whatever you get as delta S will be negative. That is not, that will be a violation of the second law. So that will not happen. So it will happen only when the delta S becomes positive, and that will happen only when Th is greater than Tc. Am I clear? The two systems
Yes, ma'am.
will be in thermal equilibrium. When the thermal equilibrium is reached, Tc becomes equal to Th. That time delta S is equal to 0. So the ultimate goal of delta S is to reach a value of 0. It is otherwise increasing all the time. So whenever we have a equilibrium reached, you have the delta S value becoming equal to 0. Now, if I have this question asked to you, that are the two processes which we have seen in the Carnot's engine, the heat engine and the refrigerator, are both of them positive, both of them spontaneous? What is happening? In both of the cases, the when we devise a refrigerator or a heat engine, we are saying that the first law is not violated. Then what is it which is going to give a rider which is going to be a spontaneous process and which is not going to be a spontaneous process? When we have a heat engine, what is happening? This is the temperature at which the heat is transferred, which is Th is higher. And this is the temperature at which the heat is transferred in the in the sink. And Th is higher than this one. This is smaller. Since this is higher, which will be the entropy change direction? Which is going to be having a higher temperature entropy? And we will, the process will always occur towards a direction in which the entropy of this total entropy of the universe is increasing. Can somebody tell me what is happening in a refrigerator and a heat engine? Which is why do we say refrigerator is not a spontaneous, does not fall under a spontaneous process?
Because heat is taken from a cold.
Yes, I'm not able to hear you. Your voice is cracking.
Because then the natural tendency is to that heat will flow from region of higher to lower, and in the
Yes.
refrigerator, the heat comes from like a compressor flows the heat from cooler area to the hotter area.
No, but talk in terms of entropy. We have already talked in terms of entropy. That's the natural occurring process. That is why the second law comes. And now we have to validate that with the understanding of entropy. And entropy is going to always uh, go from towards a positive value. It will always increase. That means the final entropy should be always greater than the initial one. It's always moving towards a higher entropy, or the entropy change should be always positive. Can we
And this
say anything?
the entropy change of the surrounding is greater than that of the system, and that's why the refrigerator works.
Surrounding please come again. The entropy of the surrounding.
Is greater than the system in case of a refrigerator. Like we are still doing work on the system in order to
Yes.
get the heat from the colder body and give it to the hotter body.
Okay.
So
That means
basically,
uh, basically you are decreasing the entropy of the surrounding, right?
yeah,
And here you are putting some work in the surrounding and you are increasing the entropy, right?
yes,
Understood? This is one version. And what about the entropy, which is in, how is it increasing? Of the total entropy, how is it increasing? You can make out from this diagram. This is the surrounding, this is the system. Okay? Here is, it is going to the surrounding, it's going to the surrounding, and this is coming to the system. But I want in terms of dq and dc, dq and qc. What will be the entropy here? What will be the entropy here? This will be lower and this will be higher. Tc is lower than th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tc is lower than this. If it is lower, then this is high, and this is uh, uh, and this is what? This is higher, so this will be lower. So what we are going from a higher entropy to a lower entropy, right? And entropy change is the difference between the final and the initial, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you are looking at the process, what you get, you will get a delta S negative for the process and system surrounding taken together. You are going from a higher entropy to a lower entropy, isn't it? So the final entropy will be having a lower value than the initial. So the change in entropy of will be a negative value, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is not a process which is going to be spontaneously occurring, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about the heat engine?
The heat engine will be spontaneous because the entropy
What
is
is the
increasing.
final? What is the
The
final?
final entropy will be more than the
Higher.
initial entropy.
Yeah, this is the final one, and this will be higher. because DC is DH is greater than DC. So this will be the final one. Final will be less than the initial one, right? So this will be having a delta S universe will be eventually positive, right? I hope you understood.
Yes, ma'am.
So if I have to calculate the entropy changes, I have to look into certain things which you need to know. What about the reservoir? What is the reservoir? We say reservoir has a very large volume, right? The reservoir has a very large volume. So how will the energy transfer take place, and how do we associate that with for a surrounding? Suppose you have Q amount of heat which is transferred to the surrounding. Okay, let a Q amount of heat be transferred to the surrounding, and this changes the uh, internal energy of the surrounding, right? The change in internal energy of the surrounding is independent, whether it's system or surrounding. That a change in internal energy is independent of whether it's carried out through which path, whether it is reversible or not reversible. It doesn't matter, right? So the Q amount of energy which is transferred to the surrounding, the change which is corresponding to the change in the internal energy of the surrounding will be independent of the whether it's transferred reversibly or irreversibly. And since the volume is very large, then the change in volume can be say neglected. Volume change can be neglected if it's a huge volume change and you are changing a very small amount of volume change is occurring. The change to the eventual size of the reservoir is independent of what minute changes you made through the process. So the volume is virtually taken to be a constant. So according to first law, the change in internal energy is equal to the heat exchange plus the work done. Work done here, since it's expansive work, volume change is zero, so work cannot contribute. So whatever internal energy change is taking place is taking place because of the transfer of heat to the from the system from the system to the surrounding surrounding. So what happens here? That means for calculating the delta S surrounding, the dq reversible by T is actually, when it is independent whether you are carrying out this transfer reversibly or irreversibly. Okay, so regardless the change is carried out, the change of the entropy of the surrounding will be given by the amount of heat transferred reversibly by the temperature at which the transfer is taking place. So whether it is transferred reversibly or irreversibly, the delta S, the universe or a surrounding, will always be represented by the Q reversible. Okay, and if it's an adiabatic process, there is no change in Q, so the delta S surrounding will be always 0. Clear? So this is what the importance of surrounding is. You have to understand surrounding signifies a very large volume. There is no volume change which can be taken into account. So volume change becomes 0. So the internal energy change is actually equal to the amount of heat which is transferred. So the heat transferred will be always taken as either being done reversibly or irreversibly, will be independent for the change of calculating the change of entropy of the surrounding. Okay. Then the next one is the calculation of entropy. I want to take up this. I hope you can spare me few minutes. So what is in, please write it down. What is happening is I'm showing you PPTs, I'm not writing on the board and you are not writing it. You will not get it yourself. See, delta S is Q reversible by T, and according to first law, we can rewrite the Q reversible or whatever amount in terms of the first law is will be what? du minus dw. Suppose it's a reversible process. Now, what is du? What is du? Du is the total differential of internal energy. And what is the total differential of internal energy? Internal energy being a function of V and T, it can be written as change of internal energy with temperature with volume constant into the change in temperature plus the total change in internal energy to carry, with respect to volume at constant temperature with into the total volume change. So this is what you need to substitute for this one. And what about W? What is W?
PdV.
Minus PdV.
Minus PdV.
Okay, so minus PdV is the volume. So now if I take up this entire thing and divide it by T, what do I have? 1 by T of this, 1 by T of this, and what is this? This is nothing but Cv. So Cv 1 by V, Cv into what? This is what we have. You are putting in this term. Please do it. You are substituting the du by v here. Sorry, you are substituting this here, and you have rewritten the expression here by substituting plugging in this into this. So this part is going to remain. This is what is this part. What is this part? This is CVDT. So I can have written it CVDT, and this comes from minus W is equal to plus PdV because W equal to minus PdV. So this is the expression we get, and that entire divide should be divided by T. Now what happens? We can rewrite this as 1 by T, change of internal energy with volume. What is change of internal energy with volume at constant temperature for a real gas? Called, this is the internal pressure, right? You're not responding.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if I have this expression, the rest of the expression is left intact. So I have this as the equation which I get for a general equation for a gas. It can be ideal gas, it can be real gas. If it is an ideal gas, what happens? We are dealing with ideal gas. So what happens? What happens to this equation if it's ideal gas? For ideal gas, we have taken the internal energy change with volume is equal to 0.
Internal pressure will be 0. Yes.
Yes. So this part is vanishing. So what we get, the total change in internal energy is nothing but Cv dt by T plus Pv dt P by T into dV.
Yes, ma'am.
Now I carry out each of the processes and find out what is going to happen. I plug in what is P by T from ideal gas. P by T will be equal to Nr by V.
NR by V.
Okay, Nr by V. I replace this by Nr by V. So I have Cv dt Nr by dV by V. Right? Now I want to find out, suppose the change of entropy from one state to another. How do I put from initial state to final? What will I integrate over? I will integrate over this and this. So I have to get the expression in terms of the change in this dt by t will become ln t2 by t1 from if the change is from 1 to 2. Similarly, if the volume is changing from for the state 1 to 2 is volume V1 to V2. So this will become R NR ln V2 by V1, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I can get the general expression of finding out the entropy change by taking for an ideal gas. If an ideal gas, we are asked to find out the change in entropy for a process, then the delta S becomes nothing but Cv ln T2 by T1 plus Nr ln V2 by V1?
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
the next one here you see I've written replace the V2 by V1 by P1 by P2. ln V2 by V1 I've replaced by ln P2 by P1. Can I do this? The only thing is you have to know how can we do it. We have not done with as yet. So I will we will eventually do this, but remember that since you are not asking me, I am asking you, how did I get this from P2 by ln P2 V2 by V1? How do I get ln P1 by P2? How do I get?
Ma'am, because it is an ideal gas and well, volume is inversely proportional to the pressure.
So from logic you are putting?
Yes, ma'am, the gas equations from.
See, from gas equations, we can only take proportionality, but we cannot. Can we show, because the NR is also there? NR is also there. We'll derive it sometime. Just remember that since you did not ask, I put the question. I'll just briefly go through few of the things and we'll take up the details in the next class. Just have a look. How are we calculating the entropy change in various processes? The entropy change for adiabatic process, temperature is 0, so delta S is 0. For any isothermal process, it will be nothing but the change in dq reversible integrated over, or change from the initial to the final state multiplied by 1 by T. Suppose that is represented, this isothermal process is taken up by an ideal gas, then what do? Then we say that the Q reversible is equal to, for a reversible process, is equal to minus W. So minus W expression, you know, from the calculation of work formulae, is equal to nothing but NR, work is usually minus nRT ln V2 by V1. But since we have a negative sign for the Q, so this becomes positive, and it is divided by T, so it becomes NR ln V2 by V1. T is removed. Okay. So for isothermal expansion, what happens for an ideal gas? The delta U is 0, and since delta U is 0, the dq reversible with the heat transferred reversibly will be equal to the work done, that is reversibly, and since work is equal to whatever expression we have is minus PdV, so minus integral dV. So from there you get a positive sign, and since in the denominator we have temperature, so the work expression becomes quite similar to that of the entropy change for isothermal expansion. Only the T is replaced, because you have delta Q divided by T. So the T is gone. Otherwise, it remains the same work expression for entropy calculation. Now, what happens when you are having an isochoric process? Isochoric process. You have to plug in the equation, which is this one. For this isochoric process, that means volume change is not there, right? So if I have a process in which I'm keeping the volume constant, and I'm carrying out a heating taking place, heating through at constant volume, that sort of a process, this will become 0. So what will delta S become? Delta S at constant isochoric process will be Cv ln T2 by T1, right? T2 by T1.
Yes, ma'am.
And then what else can we talk about? Reversible heating at constant volume will also be the same. What happens reversible expansion at constant temperature?
the T2 by T1 term will get cancelled, will
So
become
you can
0.
have, so if you have a reversible expansion, the delta S can be equal to the RT R ln Py V2 by V1, or it can be R ln P1 by P2, the two expressions we had in terms of pressure and volume, depending on what is given,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
The only difference is when you are having a phase change. When we are having a phase change, what happens? You have a constant enthalpy temperature process, right? The temperature remains constant in during the phase change that happens. Okay, so when you are having a phase change, then the delta Q reversible by T can be taken as the change in enthalpy of the process by T, enthalpy of the phase change, and the temperature is the temperature of transition, which is a constant, right? So
Yes.
depending on whether I have a fusion, I have a say evaporation, or whatever is the process taking place, I have to plug in the appropriate value of delta H for that particular phase change. Okay, we had done this calculation for suppose I have a system from a solid going to a gas state. We had discussed this expression when we had talked about calculation of enthalpy. Enthalpy change, we are trying to find out what will be the enthalpy change which is occurring from, say, temperature T1 initially at some temperature T0 or 0 to the final temperature T. What was going to be the entropy change or enthalpy change we had, if you remember. What we had taken? We had taken Cp dt for as equal to enthalpy for the whatever is a solid or liquid sample which we had from 0 to that particular final temperature. Now this will be only a divided by T. Now after that, suppose I have ice which is there. So ice at the temperature from 0 to the final temperature at which we are measuring. I say let this be as ice at 0 degree. So ice at 0 degree, I have to put the Cp of the ice at 0 degree and divided by the temperature which we are going to get from change from T1 0 to T final of the whatever temperature is provided. Now after you have this ice, the ice is to first now melt. So you have to have the heat of fusion. Heat of fusion will be, this will be heat, the transition temperature, the fusion transition temperature. So enthalpy change associated with the fusion divided by the transition temperature of the fusion process. Now you have a liquid. Now this liquid will have a different specific heat. Again we find out what will be the CPDT, because that is going to be equivalent to the delta H for the process. So I have the CPDT divided by T, and CPDT is for the liquid which we are having, and DT here is the temperature at which the liquid is, say, from 0 degree is raised to 100 degree centigrade. So after 100 degrees centigrade we have reached, you have to account for the evaporation or vaporization of the water system which we have. So the vaporization of water at 100 degrees centigrade will divided by the enthalpy of the vaporization divided by the temperature of transition at the boiling point, plus what? Plus suppose we are going from 0 degree to some temperature of the gas at water being monitored at say 100 degree centigrade. So after evaporation you have to look into the Cp of the gas, Cp dt of the gas divided by T, and what is the temperature, final temperature you are reaching, that will be the final temperature from the initial temperature you have taken. So if I have to find out the total change in a particular series of transitions taking place, that time we have to add each of the delta H corresponding to CPDT divided by T, and as we had calculated the enthalpy, similarly we are going to calculate the delta S for a change of state from one point to another, which will have a phase transition in between. So this is a transformation of phase from one point to the other, where you would have a phase transitions occurring in between. So if it had not been a phase transition, it would have been just a T2 CP dt and integrated from initial to final. But since we are having a phase change occurring, so that is why we have to divide CVDT by T and integrate it over the temperature range we are measuring, in addition to the enthalpy or the entropy change associated with each of the transition processes like fusion and evaporation. So I'll stop here